Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Batters Up here on the Sports Insanity Network, brought to you by the Dugout of Miller with its co-signer Top Notch Sports Club. There's a little bit of a change. Usually it's me, Vice President Danny Boy Reginald, and usually Mike the Pun Master Rifkin. But they're all down in Maryland enjoying Nate Moser's wedding. So happy wedding weekend to Nate Moser. But you're wondering who this guy is with me? Well, he's a Yankee fan. He can't pronounce a college in Texas, but
2 years
we
later, we're
all
still on that.
we but he's such an intricate part of the network, one of its original creators. Good evening, Bill Corpus Crispy Murphy.
How are you, Mark? You're stuck with me tonight.
I'm not stuck with you. I invited you. So if
Yes,
I
you did.
invited you, how could I be stuck with you? I brought you in. I could be sitting here talking to myself. I do that enough anyway.
Hey, remember this when you do it in the mornings. It's a staff. It's called a staff meeting.
Yeah, right. Many of those in my lifetime. So we have a little fun news to talk about, and we're gonna start it off on what's been going on out in Oakland. And we know that the Oakland A's are gonna be no more, as they will end up making their way to Las Vegas in the next 2 years. And one thing that was brought up that I absolutely love by the governor is that they wanted 380 million public funding to go to pay for this stadium. Well, there's a group union that has a big problem with it, and that's the teachers union.
It
And
is.
they're saying, why is public funding got to pay for this stadium? Put more into schools, put more into this and that. No, they want whoever's going to be going in with Fisher on buying into Las Vegas to go in with him to put up better than the 1.5 billion they're proposing. You're going to be looking at a 2 billion buy-in to get into Las Vegas now, because there's no way this is going to pass. Bill, what is your opinion on this?
My opinion on this is, as you just said, the teachers union is suing the state of Nevada for this because you also got to look at this. Nevada in the country is ranks 48th in per pupil funding with the largest class sizes and highest education vacancies in the nation. And I'm totally on the teachers union side with this. And like, listen, I love baseball, I love sports, but when you're using public funding, when you're using public funding, taxpayers' money, and you know what? I can understand why a lot of people are pissed off about this because I don't want to sound like some weird leftist Marxist here, but why should common folks be flipping the bill for billionaires?
And I agree. You have to figure $2 billion is going to buy yourself a stadium. It's going to get your team. And Fisher's not going to be able to do this all himself. There's a reason why Oakland was a fire bomb, and it was. There's going to be other investors who will be coming in on it. Trust me, if I won the $1 billion lottery that that person in Oregon won, I would be trying to find my way to make a buy-in on this, because Vegas is, I hate to say it, New York is a sports state.
Yeah,
California, Texas, Florida, sports states. No, the premier state
is
will
Nevada.
be is Nevada. That's where it's all gonna be. Nevada now has grown with a hockey team, football team. Now you're going to bring in baseball. Basketball won't be far behind it. Soon before we'll have yachting and cricket teams, and I'm sure a soccer team.
Well, you got to look at it this way, though, Mark. Now, now that we're seeing more an increase in sports gambling over the last couple years, Vegas is the capital for that, and that's why all these teams are moving there.
And you're 100% right. If we've talked about it, whether on Batters Up, I know we've talked about it on Sunday Gridiron. I know Bill and Dan have talked about it on SIP. where every other commercial is basically a gambling commercial. And the question was becoming, is gambling going to stretch out to the point where Vegas is going to become non-existent? No. Vegas is going to regain what the outside world is taking, what FanDuel, Caesars, and all of them are trying to do, even though sports gambling is illegal in a lot of states still. But there's within reason. Like you to cut it so they would love to be able to open casinos online. New York, being one of the biggest states in the world, does not allow online gambling, but they'll allow online sports betting. So the question is, the flock that used to be New York and Texas, now the turn is going to be back to Nevada. And let me tell you, Bugsy, Bugsy, he knew the desert was gonna be a gem, and Meyer, you knew it too. If you don't know who I'm talking about, great gangsters, Jewish gangsters, my gangsters from the 1920s. Go ahead, Bill.
But you got to think about it this way, and you know what you said with gambling commercials and all that. 4 years ago, me, Patch, and Reg, we actually hosted a debate about sports gambling. We had Matt Holt from Integrity, which is a regulation company, and we had Les Burnell, who is the head of Stop Predatory Gambling. And Les Burnell made a very interesting point. He said, this is not about Las Vegas or shutting down Las Vegas. This is about having Las Vegas in your living room.
It's
I
what
think
it
he's
is.
right.
And that's a very good statement. It is. You can place a bet at a moment. You can bet on the next play now. You know, it's made it so that this country, we're begging for this and we're begging for that, but we have upwards of $1 trillion to spend on sports gambling. So, yes, Mattress Mac, he puts us all to shame with his $10 million bids on the Astros, but Vegas has to do the right thing and not take money from where money needs. As Bill said, how do you take from a school system that ranks so low in the country
And
when they
plus,
should be putting money into it?
I hate to be one of these people, but even in this country ourselves, our education system, sorry, is kind of crap.
And in certain states, yes, it's
And
poor.
and this is what pisses me off so much is that these are people who have billions of dollars. It's like, Fisher, go talk to your millionaire and billionaire buddies and don't take money away from education. And when you're featuring a when you're featuring a school system, a state, I'm sure many of the schools in Nevada, the public schools there are like don't have a lot of funding. So when schools have to close because of funding, and what Nevada's going to look as well, we had the money for a baseball stadium.
Right. And Bill's right. Bill is 100% right. And I share Bill's sentiments on that. And it should not be taken from any type of public funding, such as teachers, anything for there's thousands others, hundreds others. I'm not just going to just say it just shouldn't be from teachers. There are other unions there that it should not come from. Public works and stuff like that, sanitation, stuff like that.
Mark, let me ask you.
Um,
You're a parent.
Go ahead.
You're a parent. You have two kids.
I do.
If you lived in Nevada and that situation was going on, wouldn't you, as a parent, kind of be pissed off?
Absolutely.
Because you're thinking,
If
my kid's future here is at stake. And you're
Let me
dealing.
put it to you this way. If it was if Nevada was in the top 10 of schools, no, I probably would not. If it was in the top 10 of schools, I probably wouldn't bat an eye to it and probably wouldn't think being that low in the school system and being in the country. Yeah. As a parent, I would be absolutely infuriated. So
because
yeah, it's kind of a one side, two side coin flip, but I'm being honest with you. That's all. I want you to give you the honest answer.
because because again, when you have schools who have budget cuts, budget cuts, budget cuts, budget cuts, and I remember when, because I started high school like during the recession in 2008, 2009, and I remember, and listen, we're in New York, but I remember there were some things that my school district had to cut because of budget cuts, because of the recession. So, but again, when you look into Nevada, in this situation where your school system is doing not great, and you're just gonna, yeah, your money's gonna pay for a baseball stadium. Put the fund into education. Let Fisher and his billionaire buddies take care of the baseball stadium.
Yeah. So we'll see how it all transforms out once the finalization of the sale of the Oakland A's happens, and whoever and however the savings going. We'll give you more on that. Went to a more interesting story. The Los Angeles Dodgers, we've compared this year as pretty much as the 1927 Yankees murderers row lineup with Betts, Ohtani, Freeman, and the list just goes on and on, except for well, no offense, they're hitting now, but Gavin Lux and Padres was not doing that well. And Max Muncy, they kind of showed off the other night why they kind of own this name. Now, mind you, no offense to the great patch man here. He knows the Nationals aren't vying for a world championship this year, even though the Nats are playing decent ball. Um, the Dodgers went out and did something not a lot of teams can say they did, and that's have a 20 hit night. That's something where if you ever saw the old Bugs Bunny cartoon, Bugs playing baseball and he throws a ball and it gets hit and they're walking around the diamond. That's pretty much what it was. Ohtani with three doubles. You had Betts with consecutive hits. Freeman with it was just hit after hit after hit, home run. You cannot tell me that buying a team doesn't have its perks at times, Bill. And special and throwing this to Bill because no offense, I actually just came up with this a second ago. Bill, you're a Yankees fan.
I am.
Yankees bought teams to play, so you know what it's like. So I'll let you go from it.
Well, yeah. Well, if you're talking about the concept of buying teams, it's like, and you know what? I'm gonna be honest. We've had those years in which we did buy players to win teams, like buy players to win World Series. Like if you go back to, I'll go back to 1976, 77 when the Yankees got Reggie Jackson and signed a big contract. When even I'm not really gonna count like the core four guys in like the 90s and 2000s because those were not bought. Those were homegrown guys. Those were homegrown Jeter, Posada, Pettit, Rivera. Those were homegrown guys. But then when you look into the road, then when you look into, they got Roger Clemens in '99 to help win a World Series. But then when you get into the road into 2009, like 2004, which a year that many of us Yankee fans want to forget, um, when we got A-Rod. And then 5 years later, before the 2009 series, the Yankees went on this big spending spree and got CC Sabathia, AJ Burnett, and Mark Teixeira, and ended up winning the World Series that year. And like, listen, a lot of people say, well, the Yankees buy championships. I can agree to a point. Are the Dodgers trying to do the same thing? They got Shohei, they got Yamamoto. Like the Dodgers just rocked the Nationals the other night, and they're all and like, listen, guys, this is now. Are the Dodgers potentially going to be in the World Series? I don't know. Do you? I have no idea.
No, anything can happen in a ball season. We've all seen. I mean, as anybody knows, and I speak for pretty much everyone here, nobody likes to see it when a player gets injured. No one
Oh, absolutely
cheers it
not.
when a player gets injured because, look, it's not the proper thing to do. What you do in your own time off camera and all that, we don't see. Hey, whatever. Teams want to win.
Yes.
Teams want to win. The Dodgers, if they don't win, we're looking at the biggest waste of over $1 billion And it makes Steve Cohen almost $800 million, not seem who cares anymore. You're talking about a Dodgers team that's worth a lot of money right now with signing Shohei Ohtani, $700 million deal. You went out and you beat out the Mets to get Yamamoto, who's shown signs of that flashiness and has, some high K rates, but has also shown some weaknesses. But this is a guy coming over from one type of baseball to the other. So yeah, there's gonna be a learning curve for him. I didn't expect a guy to come out and win 20 games, not lose one, and win a Cy Young this year. No, even if he was with the Mets, I expected a learning curve. But you can't close your eyes on this lineup and breathe until you get to the eighth and ninth batters.
I
And
agree.
for any team in baseball, that's going to put a strain on your starting pitching and who you're going to pick to start.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. So, but still, a 20 hit night is, I mean, it's not the first one I've seen. I've seen a few. I mean, I've seen the Cleveland Indians beat the Yankees by 20 runs at Yankee Stadium. God, was that a horrible night.
What, 20, the 22 to nothing game?
Yeah, that was a horrible night. I actually was there, and my boss didn't want to leave because he said this would be in the making. Yeah.
My
Oh
my
my God, was that
friend,
a long night?
a friend of mine was actually at that game. I want to say it was for his birthday. He's like, "Yeah,
Oh,
great birthday present, bud."
oh God, that was a long night. But it's something to talk about because it's really cool to watch because you see why these guys are paid the money they are. However, Bill, Dan, Mike, Noah, possibly Patch all could have gotten hits off that national pitcher anyway. So we'll see what the Dodgers do come late in the season. We'll see if they're still raking as they are.
Don't tell that to
Moving on
Patchy because
to
he's a National fan, so he's probably rolling around.
well, Patch has to be happy with the way the Nationals are playing. They're playing decent baseball. So, how long it's going to last, we don't know.
Would you put the
Oh,
Dodgers as a favorite to win a World Series to win the World Series this year?
I don't see how you couldn't. I mean, at the start of the season, I do not believe there was a betting site that didn't have the best odds for the Dodgers, and everybody was picking the Dodgers to be the World Series champion. And that would be like saying Kansas City wasn't going to repeat as a Super Bowl champion either.
Look what happened.
It's what's on paper and how the odds come out. So, and Casey still kind of proved it with a bullheaded team, so to speak. I don't
Mhm.
know how they did it. Um, Moving on to some great news, and this is a guy who I watched manage more than I never got to see the man play a game. Dusty Baker, long-time baseball player and manager, was honored by Baseball Digest for their lifetime award, and this has only been given out four times, and it's only started since 2021, and I believe last year's winner was Joe Torre, the year before was Willie Mays, and this year it's going to Dusty Baker. A little insight on Dusty Baker as a player. He had 1,981 hits, 242 home runs, and a lifetime average of 278. Wouldn't we all love to say we almost batted 280 in our lifetimes? And then as a 26-year career as a manager, he had managed 4,028 games with 2,169 wins, 1,858 losses, with a winning percentage of 50.538, otherwise 54%. Bill, Dusty Baker, legendary ball
Oh,
player,
absolutely.
manager of the Giants, the Cubs, the Reds, the Nationals, and recently the Astros, retires, gets this, not retired, but gets this award. What are your thoughts on it?
Well deserving with three National League pennants, a World Series champion, three times NL Manager of the Year, and 2,183 career wins. Well deserved because, as a Yankee fan, I'll be honest, I can't stand the Astros, but when when in 2022, when they won the World Series, I was happy for Dusty Baker. I was happy for Dusty Baker that he won because because I think he really proved himself with that because he waited so long to win a World Series. 2002 as manager of the Giants, and 2003 he was gonna be in the World Series, and then some guy, Steve Bartman.
Oh,
I hope he's doing well.
I,
I
the
hope he's
poor
well.
guy. The poor guy. Bill, I'm going to stop on Dusty Baker and I'm going to transition for a second because you couldn't have brought that up at a better moment. So, poor Steve Bartman, known very well by the Chicago Cubs for interfering with Moises Alou on the foul ball, which ultimately we know how that all ended up with the Cubs not going to the World Series. Recently, a manager who wears the same jersey that Bill is wearing was standing at the top of the dugout and literally said nothing and got thrown out of a ball game.
I saw that.
On replay, now mind you, I got texted by a friend and I had known the Yankee game had started. I was home and it said, "Yo, Aaron Boone was just tossed out of the game." I said, "The game started 5 minutes ago. What are you talking?" And I turn it on and there he is being tossed and they're going back over it and over it. Only in New York
Could you get in
does
trouble
a
for not
fan
saying
get
anything?
your manager thrown out of a game. Bill, you're the Yankee fan, and I'll transition back to Dusty Baker after this, but this was a perfect segue.
This was just ridiculous. And listen, if you've listened to SIP or if you've listened to me and Danny Boy Reg's side Yankee podcast, Bombers Banter, you know I am not the biggest Aaron Boone fan. I am not the biggest Aaron Boone fan, Mark, but that was ridiculous. That was absolutely ridiculous. The guy didn't say anything. You got to toss him out? Because this is what annoys me about some umpires. They have this Oedipus, they have like this complex. Like, oh, you breathed wrong, out. I didn't even do anything, out. Aaron Rodgers didn't. Aaron Boone. Why did I say Aaron Rodgers?
That's all right. He tore an Achilles because they didn't have linemen. The Jets got a great lineman last night, so they'll be happy.
Yeah, but Aaron Boone didn't even do anything. I don't even know what happened. Why did he? Why did he? Um. So I gotta shut this off. My phone keeps texting me. Why did he get tossed out? He just stood on the dugout and did absolutely nothing.
Well, what ended up happening is, and always, well, we didn't need a John Boy recap because you heard it clear as day on live TV. Um, the leadoff hitter for the Oakland A's, Ruiz, was hit on the foot. He did get hit on the foot. The umpire was asked to check it. He checked it. It showed he was hit. He gave him first base. Aaron Boone did say something initially, and whatever it was, and the umpire already was having a bad day, you could tell, went off on Aaron Boone, yelling and screaming at him back. You're going to yell at me? No, 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 no. You have something to say? Come on, say it. Next words out of you, you're tossed. Aaron Boone goes and stands at the top of the dugout and does not say a word. The fan above the dugout, who is, I want to say, 2 to 3 rows behind the netting, is clearly yelling, "Bullshit, bullshit." The umpire heard the direction of what was coming and threw Aaron Boone out. And, quote, "I don't care who it came from. I heard it over there. It came from you. I'm throwing you out. You're the Yankees manager. You have to take responsibility." This will come as a apology from MLB to Aaron Boone eventually. Will it be public or not? No. But I want to know what's going to happen to this Yankee fan who's got Aaron Boone thrown out. So, Bill, I am putting it on to you when there is news about this. You're going
All
to
right.
report. I want to know if this guy is kicked out of Yankee Stadium forever because of this. Now, could you imagine if this was like a World Series game in the aftermath?
Oh, that would be that person would not be allowed to show their face in New York again after that.
I mean, mind you, if you take a look at the shot, there's literally nobody at the game. It's a 1 o'clock in the afternoon game in the
On
middle
a
of a New
Monday.
York work week.
It was on a
Yeah, in the
Monday,
middle of it. I'm sorry, on a Monday morning, Monday work week.
which I found very strange. Why would you have a
Well,
game?
there's always games once in a while that are 105 to end the series. Usually that game is normally a
Well,
day
because I was
game.
also thinking Monday was the beginning of Passover too.
Yeah, they wanted to get the game in before sundown. Respect to Harrison Bader. But there has to, I mean, this is something where Aaron Boone should say, "Can I use my challenge? You can look. I didn't say a word." But the one, it's like a call that's been called on the field. The player's been touched down. He's already made his decision. Aaron Boone will take it up with MLB. Going back to Dusty Baker. Thank you, Bill, for your insight. Going back to Dusty Baker, this is a well-deserved way to end his career. Um, when you're going into such an elite group, I mean, when you look what Joe Torre did as a player and a manager, Baker, what Willie Mays was to baseball and still is. The man has not passed away, still is to baseball.
Knock on wood, he stays around for a while.
And I believe the first one who won it was Hank Aaron. I think the first one who won it was actually Hank Aaron. And you look at this elite group and Dusty Baker being the fourth person, it's got to make the man feel good about what he has accomplished. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. This man absolutely deserves everything he got. He deserves this award. And he has had a wonderful career. He's done an awesome job. And like what I was saying about Dusty Baker before we got on the Aaron Boone tangent with the then he was 2002 with the Angels, 2003 with the Cubs. He almost made it to the World Series. But this is why I think 2022 cemented everything, because this was in years in the aftermath after the infamous Astros cheating scandal. And Dusty Baker got thrown on, was manager of this team in the aftermath of all that, and then led this team to win a World Series.
So, congrats to Dusty Baker. Always go down as one of baseball's best. On to a topic, that we've talked a lot about between SIP, batter up, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. And that is the injuries to pitchers this year. And we thought a lot had happened last year. This year just keeps getting worse with more and more. And it's more and more tear to the elbow or the UCL, or we're seeing a lot of shoulder capsule strain. And all these injuries have come since Tack had been told it couldn't be used anymore, and we've seen the loss of how Garrett Cole and Max Scherzer fell off, and Justin Verlander fell off once that was outruled. And look at Jacob DeGrom. But since the pitch clock has been initiated, do you think, Bill, this has added to pitching injuries?
I think in a way it has, because after pitchers don't have time to recover. It's like at bat, okay, now you got to hurry up and get the next pitch out. And that does a number on the arm. That does a number on the arm there, Mark. So I think the pitch clock, as much as I loved it, as much as I love it because it makes games actually go faster.
Agreed. Absolutely agree with you. Games have decreased by almost 30 minutes a game since the inception of the pitch clock.
Because the Yankee game I
However,
last week, the one where they just don't get me started. But anyway, the game started at 1. I think it was over like a little before 3:30.
yeah, and to be able to take, I mean, as grown-ups for us, that's great. But when you have a family that wants to take an 8 and 9 year old, they can't sit there for 3.5 hours at a afternoon game in the heat or a 3 hour game at night. 2 hours, 20 minutes, 2 hours, 30 minutes, a little more palpable for a family.
But
And
have you took your kids to a Mets game? Or
I not as of yet. Charlotte's at that age where where I want to take her. Troy,
you want to wait a year,
being
couple
the little
years?
tyke that he is, he wouldn't be able to sit still long enough really to appreciate it much. So we go up to the Dutch. We go up to the Dutch a lot. We go to watch the Renegades a lot. So Troy gets to run around a little bit, and Charlotte gets to watch baseball with me. So
Uh, yeah, sorry, I'm going on another tangent here, but
that's all
what
right.
do you think is like the right age to take kids to like Major League Baseball games?
If
Again,
they're
I'm not a
playing,
parent, so I can't speak for
no,
them.
if they're playing t-ball, let's start it there. If they're playing t-ball and they're really interested in the game and they're sitting and watching a game at home, I would say 6, 7 years old if they're into it. If you're taking them for the experience and they'll come in and watch a couple of innings with you, you wait until they're older so they can sit and enjoy and that they get an idea of what's going on. Because if you take a kid to something that they're not going to be ready to sit in a seat and watch, because sometimes baseball can be very slow. It's not always all excitement. I mean, a great pitcher duel I love to watch, but kids want to see action. They want to see crowd excitement. So that's where I would put it at, Bill.
Yeah, because I went to my first Major League Baseball game when I was like 6, and
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea what the heck was going on.
As I said, it depends on the culture the kid is brought up in. And as I said, if the kid is playing t-ball and knows how to play, then following the game will be very easy for him or her. You
Because I
know,
grew up more watching football than baseball, so I kind of grew up more, the fast pace, the
I I would say it was a 55-45 baseball over football in my house. So
because we grew up. I grew up watching the Yankees and stuff, and this is gonna make a lot of people laugh. My first game was actually at Fenway, um, but I was 6. I had no idea what was going on. I had like next to no idea what was going on. But then when I went to my first Yankee game, I was 8. My brother was 3. He was turning 4 that August. So he actually fell asleep.
wow. That's what some parents, the good ones can do. They can manage a sleeping one in one hand and the beer in the other. That's the good parents.
Me, I was trying to
Not sip dad's beer.
but no, I was like trying to concentrate on what was going on because I still was in kind of that football mindset that okay, this game's gonna go quick, this game's gonna go quick. And I'm like, Dad, this game's going slow, so that's baseball. I'm like, okay. But anyway,
Baseball is a chess match where football is World War. So
yeah,
the-
but that's like with the pitch clock now. I think if you were bringing kids to games who are young, they're sort of
the-
like they're like, okay, this game can now go faster now.
yeah, absolutely agreed. Um, Another nice little tidbit was that MLB is bringing back something that started out in 2019, and that is the Players Weekend. What it is to give the players a chance to not only show off what they can do on the field, it's what they do as a humanitarian way off the field. What showcase what they do off the field, what their interests are. I mean, we all know them by team, what they can do, who does this. If I were to say, do you know what Ryan McMahon likes to do on a Saturday night? No, not a lot of us are going to care. No offense to Ryan McMahon, Colorado Rockies having a good year. I just happen to pick him out of a lot. But there are people who like to know more about the players, and that's what this weekend is developed to do, is to give, it's not necessarily for the kids, it's more for the adults to see what these guys are into. Some of them are wine connoisseurs. Some of them collect baseball cards. Others collect coins. Some play chess. They all do different things, but you wouldn't know it, and they never really get a chance to showcase it. So by bringing this back the first time since 2019, obviously, COVID kind of would cancel any of it out anyway because you couldn't really showcase anything. And as things got back, this is a nice year to bring it back out. What do you think, though?
I think this is a fun year to bring it back out. Like, I get why they put it off on 2020 and 2021, but why did they put it off on 2022 and 2023?
On 20, because of the fact is that they did not have enough participants. Now with everything I don't like to say everything's back to the way it is because really it's not. And health wise, COVID wise, we've got somewhat of a handle on it. But last year was the first real year, the end of 2023 going into 2024, where we started to feel kind of normal. So I think MLB used that as a stepping stone and saw attendance creeping back up to say, okay, we're back at this point. Let's bring this back now.
Because I feel like in 2021, 2022, people were like still kind of hesitant to go back to the ballpark because, we were just told that we couldn't go to big crowded areas for the last year or so. Yeah, but I think this is great that they're bringing this back. They're having 3 days of August 16th. This fun aspect of players, personalities, friendships, and off-field interests will be featured. Saturday, August 17th, focus will be on charitable and community initiatives that are important to players and appreciation. Players will celebrate the people who helped them on their path to the major leagues. And the two games that will be featured is the is the on August 17th will be the Dodgers and the Cardinals, and August 18th will be the Yankees and the Tigers. The Dodgers and Cardinals will be the Fox Saturday game. Yankees Tigers will be the ESPN Sunday night game. And there's going to be new era caps with with featuring the players' numbers. But they're not going to have the nicknames on the jersey, which I'm kind of disappointed about.
That I was kind of disappointed about as well when I read that, but I do like the new era caps coming out with the jersey number on it. I'm kind of interested in a couple of them.
So this is going to be a fun. It's going to be in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Like, I think it's like before the beginning of the Little League World Series,
Yes.
which that's always fun to watch.
I always watch the Little League World Series. But yeah, it's nice to see that we'll be able to get a little more insight. Yeah, mind you, there are going to be a lot of people who say who care, but there are going to be a lot of people who don't and are going to be really interested, especially for the people who are the heads of organizations and charities are getting their chance. It's almost like their 15 seconds of fame because they're going to be featured on this weekend of what they get supported. So it's for them to get their best foot forward. Before we dive into a little bit of series, and I'm gonna give a shout out to Mike Rifkin here. When I do the series with Bill, I am not as thorough as Mike. I am not as stat oriented. I don't have every pitcher. We're just gonna be giving a little bit of opinion wise. So, Mike, you're still the best. You know it. I figure I might as well say it. But a fun little thing that was put up by Sean McFarland the other night on X. Max Scherzer, and this is a direct quote. We need to rank umpires. Let the electronic strike zone rank the umpires. We need to have a comparison about the bottom. Let's call it the bottom 10%. Whatever you want to declare the bottom is, whether it's 10%, 5%. And talk about relegating those umpires to the minor leagues. In a subnote, reward the best umpires with their strike calling in a grade up to the major leagues. I think for all the times we have complained about replacing umpires, and Bill, I think you're in agreement with me, the worst umpire in the world is
Angel Hernandez.
exactly. We all can't stand him. The one man who could
I
have
hate
looked at
that
the
guy.
solar eclipse without his glasses on and still be blind. Um, this is finally a proposal because if you look at over the last 3 years, MLB has been doing a StatCast on called strikes and balls, and it's ranking the umpires by their calls. Everybody's bitching about, oh, we need challenges. Oh, we got to be able to have reviews. Here is a solution that makes sense. It doesn't cost you anything because you're already doing it. You're going to get rid of a problem by saying, hey, look, you want to earn your way back, earn your way back. This was almost like the suggestion of take the lowest ranking team in the NFL and they got to be sent to the XFL, and then the winner of the XFL gets to get into the NFL. That's kind of like what this is saying. But I think Max Scherzer's got it right. Mind you, Scherzer's been hurt a lot because of the rule changes, but I think he's finally made a suggestion that makes sense. What do you think, Bill?
I think this is a pretty interesting rule. Just looking at the thing you sent me from earlier, bear with me. So, yeah, I'm just trying to understand this. So, ranking umpires, yes, absolutely. I don't think Angel Hernandez is gonna be in the top because I think he's an
No.
absolute garbage umpire. But yeah, let's rank this thing. And plus, didn't you also say they're gonna like do robot umpires in the future?
Well, the talk about robot umpires came up about a year and a half ago, and that was going to be featured in the minor leagues. It was supposed to be this year, but now it's going to be next year, and will be tried out in a handful of ballparks throughout the year to see is it efficient enough. Right now, we're training AI planes to fly F-15 strike missions and can fly better than F-35 Raptor pilots. I'm sorry, has anybody not seen the movie Terminator? We are basically creating Skynet. Can we stop now?
Are we here? Are we talking Terminator 1 or Terminator 2 Judgment Day?
Oh, it's all of it, Bill. It's all of it happening.
What
We're
do we
all
get?
over. No,
Terminator 2 is really good.
well, the movie was great, but this takes the idea of getting out the problem of bad umpires, regulating them down to the minor leagues, which we all know is the little leagues of Major League Baseball. And if they do an amazing job, there's going to be a low grade of umpires on the next year are going to get relegated down. They can earn their way back up. This makes sense, and it literally does cost nothing. Umpires can choose. Oh, well, you're going to send me out of the major leagues because of this. Well, I'll quit. Okay, quit. We'll hire somebody else. There's a statement in business: nobody is irreplaceable.
Everyone's
They might
replaceable.
be hard, but nobody is irreplaceable. So,
That is true. So I think this is just weird. I think Scherzer is right. We should rank the umpires. But with the robot umpires, I'll tell you this. My grandmother, God rest her soul, she was right. The machines were going to take us over one day. And she was yelling
yeah,
about that with Watson on Jeopardy. She goes, just you wait. The machines are going to take us over one day. She was right. And now I
yes.
feel bad for laughing at her, thinking, okay, I was off her meds again. Um,
But yeah, that's pretty much a gist what Max is just trying to say. As pitchers are really the ones taking the problem with it. Taking a little dive into the series, and the series I picked was not was to take any jabs at anybody. I took a couple of series that fall into the fact of teams that are either right in the middle or should be right at the top, but can't seem to get there. And the first series we're going to look at is one that started tonight, obviously, it's the Cardinals and the Mets. Over the years, the St. Louis Cardinals and the Mets. I mean, let's go with the St. Louis Cardinals. St. Louis Cardinals were at the top of the division almost every year, as far as I can remember going back. And the Mets, have had their ups and downs since 2015. They've been at the top, they've been in the middle. They haven't been all the way at the bottom, thank God, but still, they have not grasped that brass ring. What I need to see out of the Mets this weekend is the Mets need now currently in the first game right now, the Mets are losing 4-2 in the top of the ninth. However, good news for Mets fans, JD Martinez did get his first RBI tonight. So kudos to JD. That shows why we got him. Not that that's going to fix everything. Moving on. the Mets need to start hitting more than they are. And I know that's hard to say. The Mets are putting up almost 7 hits a game, but the problem is you can hit 10 hits. If you're not putting up at least 5 runs with those 10 hits, it doesn't mean anything. As for St. Louis has the bats, it has the team, but they just can't hit a ball lately. And with the pitching that the Mets have, they should be absolutely destroying the Mets. So for this series weekend, I look for the Mets to be more consistent at the plate, get the use of JD Martinez, hopefully get him into the flow and help maybe take 2 out of 3 here. Bill?
I I can agree with you on the Mets on this because Mets are 13th in the majors in runs scored and 12th in batting average, while the Cardinals are 27th in runs scored and 26th in batting average. I think if you're a St. Louis Cardinal you should be looking at are Wilson Contreras, who has led the way on offense. He has 294 with 7 doubles and 3 home runs, and has led to 8 RBIs on the year and 11 runs scored. And with RBI leaders, you got Nolan Arenado and Brendan Donovan. Arenado's batting 295 and has 6 doubles and a home run and 12 RBIs with 8 runs scored, while Donovan is only hitting 217, but has a 3.21 on base percentage, 4 doubles, a triple, and 2 home runs, and has led to 12 RBIs and 11 runs scored. And the Mets are 13th in majors in runs scored. And I think the ones you really got to look out for this week is, of course, Pete Alonso, who is having a decent season so far with 7 home runs and 12 RBIs. But also, what you got to look for is Nimmo. Even though he's just batting 186, he has 3 doubles, a triple, and 2 home runs, and has 15 RBIs. So I think the Mets are going to take this series. Mets are taking this series.
I hope you're right. Being the Mets fan in this group, I hope you're right, Bill.
And
Moving
I said
on.
this wearing my Yankee jersey. So yeah.
Dan, you heard it here first, Dan. A Yankee fan saying the Mets are going to win. Not the first time we've ever heard that, but maybe the first time we ever heard Bill say that. Moving on to another series that I happen to like. The Arizona Diamondbacks are taking on the Seattle Mariners. Arizona, as we know, took on Texas in the World Series last year with that young roster. And then obviously Seattle with that after the huge brawl in Los Angeles went on a tear last year. And right now, both teams, I mean, Seattle's sitting at the top with Texas tied with 13 wins. And you got the Arizona Diamondbacks are only 4 games behind the Dodgers. My statement was when we brought this up the other week is that the NL West was the division really to watch this season, along with the AL East, as you're featuring some of the best teams in baseball. In the West, you got the Dodgers, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, and the Giants. No offense to the Rockies, you're not worth mentioning here.
Oh, poor
And
Rockies.
and in the AL West, you have the Mariners, the Rangers, the Angels, and believe it or not, I can't believe I'm saying this, the Athletics, who have more wins than the Astros right now.
Never thought I'd hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I wish there was a prop bet and I knew the future on that one, but I mean, right now Seattle is tied with Texas, last year's World Series winners, at the top of their division, but both had the same amount of wins. So this division series is what a potential, if things go wrong in the playoffs, like things happen, as a potential 2 teams that could find themselves in wild card contention come September, October. Bill?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because you got the Diamondbacks, who are the defending National League champions, who they're currently sitting at third. Is that correct? In the NL
That they
West?
are.
They're sitting at third, so they're getting off to a pretty slow start. And then you got the Mariners, who are sitting at what was it they're
They're
sitting
at
at?
the top. They're at the top of the division by half a game.
Yeah, sorry, I zoned out there for a sec. But
That's
anyway,
okay.
the Diamondbacks right now, I think you got Ketel Marte, who's leading that team in hits and runs and batting 320. So he is a force to be reckoned with right now. And And when it comes to the Mariners, I think a team you really got to players you really got to look out for are Josh Rojas and Cora Raleigh. Rojas is batting 315, and Raleigh is batting 257, but 6 homers. But a player who really needs to have a breakout soon is Julio Rodriguez, who only has one
Yes,
homer right now, but his batting average is climbing up to 276. So I think Julio Rodriguez from the Mariners needs to have a breakout weekend right now.
I
And
couldn't agree with you more there, Bill.
and I think Seattle's going to take this series.
And I think Bill has it right that Julio Rodriguez is really the catalyst of the Seattle Mariners lineup. I mean, he is the number four cleanup hitter. Right now he's the face of the franchise. And your face of the franchise, who was last year's home run derby winner and it went on that huge tear, has one home run. But as Bill did say, his batting average has climbed over 30 points over the last week. So maybe he is about to start going on that record tear that we've been waiting on. And I do agree with Bill that I believe Seattle will end up taking this series as they are hungry for the win. Two more teams that we talk a lot about, one of them being in the NL East and one of them being in the NL West, but they're both going to be in contention come the end of the year. You got the Philadelphia Phillies and the San Diego Padres. You got the Phillies with that great starting pitching of Nola and Wheeler, and you got the Padres with that lineup with Machado, I mean, and Fernando Tatis and Cronenworth, and they've just started to hit their stride. San Diego. San Diego's starting to turn it on as of lately, and everyone is hitting. I mean, unfortunately, Jackson Merrill went down with a little bit of a knee injury, so he's going to be missed for a little bit. But everybody's participating in San Diego. But Philadelphia is getting it from everywhere, and I hate to shout out Philadelphia, being above my New York Mets, but they're coming very close to rivaling the Atlanta Braves for the division lead right now.
That is
So
true.
when I look at this matchup, this is a do or die situation for Philadelphia. I think for Philadelphia to keep pace with Arizona, who's 17-6, and Philadelphia's 16-10, that's nothing bad to look at. But for Philadelphia to keep pace, because I don't think there's anything that's going to keep the Atlanta Braves from winning the NL East. Um,
And I'm sure as a
Philly
Met
needs to.
fan, that pains you to say that.
It does. It absolutely. It guts me to say it, but as an honest baseball analyst, I'm taking what I see here. That's what's going to happen, unless the biggest plague hits Atlanta in the world. God forbid, we don't want that to happen. Um, But I think Philadelphia needs to win this series to keep pace with the Braves, and that's why I'm picking Philadelphia with using Nola tonight, especially leading off this series.
Well, I think
Bill?
Nola is going to be a force to be reckoned with for the Phillies right now because when it comes to their big shots, Bogarts, Machado, and Tatis, they are a combined 3 for 28 with a 107 average against them. So I think Nola is going to be a huge is going to be a huge addition for the Phillies, and also for at bats, you got to give it to Schwarber. He has two because Dylan Cease, who's pitching this weekend, Schwarber has 2 home runs and 5 at bats against him, and has 7 home runs in Petco Park during his career right now. So I think Nola's going to be the one for pitching. For offense, I think it's going to be Schwarber.
Okay. I mean, Bill, you made some very good points, very good statistical breakdown, very good assumptions too. And I also saw the note on Kyle Schwarber, and I think that is going to be a very big key for them right there. I think if anybody's got to get them on the board and get them going, he's the one who could actually do it. One last series to talk about, and I mean, one of them being last year's World Series winner, the Texas Rangers, with that great pitching staff that has not really stepped on a mound yet because they're unfortunately all injured. However, they are tied well, they're a half game out of first place in their division. And the electric Cincinnati Reds, who are 14-11.
Oh
The
boy.
reason why I love this series is I've been watching a lot of the Cincinnati Red games, and I'm watching it not because they have Rookie of the Year Ellie De La Cruz. It's not just De La Cruz. They are playing, they're not doing it only by the home run. They're doing it all around. They're doing it by small ball. They're not making errors. Their pitching has been not fantastic, but it's kept them in it enough for them to take games. But yes, when you look at the Cincinnati Reds, Ellie De La Cruz, steals, home runs, hits, fielding. The guy is a five-tool player we all wish our teams had and wish one day, again, they'll show up. But Cincinnati with Steer off to a great start. Encarnacio Strand is now coming on, and you got Ellie De La Cruz. Cincinnati doesn't have to make the playoffs. They could. They're already proving they're an up and coming team. I look for Cincinnati to upset Texas in this weekend, taking 2 of 3. Bill.
Yeah, well, when you look at the Reds players, like I said, De La Cruz, he's batting 306 and leading the Reds in home runs with 7 right now, and he ranks fourth in home runs and 16th in RBI. Spencer Steer is driving in the most runs for the Reds right now with 19 RBIs. I think he's someone you got to look out for. And Jake Fraley's hitting 340 with 4 doubles. So the Reds offense has been absolutely ecstatic. When you got the Rangers, you got Adalis Garcia, who who has 7 home runs and 23 RBIs and accumulating the team best batting average of 299. And you got Simeon's also on my fantasy team with 6 doubles, 4 home runs, and 10 walks while batting. But you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm actually gonna agree with you. I think the Reds could pull it off this week and with a 2 out of 3. But do not count the Rangers out because they're biting right now.
Yeah. I mean, baseball this year, with the exception, again, no offense to the Colorado Rockies, and I never thought Colorado Rockies, the Miami Marlins, and the Houston Astros. I never thought of the Houston Astros would be lumped in with those other teams. Baseball has been kind of even. There hasn't been one. I mean, the Atlanta Braves, if you want to put any two teams at it, the Atlanta Braves, the Baltimore Orioles, and the Cleveland Guardians I mean, the Milwaukee Brewers are really the ones making the run for it. But everybody is within 3 to 4 games. So there's no real clear front runner now. We're only a month into the season. I want to thank you all for tuning in to the Sports Insanity Network. Be sure to check us out on Facebook. We are on X. Make sure to check out us on YouTube. We are live every Sunday with Batters Up. Make sure to listen to all the podcasts. Bomber Banter, which has become very popular as of lately, as Bill and Dan record every week because they just love living in those old 26 World Series championships and
All
haven't
right,
seen one. However, they
27.
have a lot more. Okay, 27. And they have a lot more than the Mets. So I'll say that there to say Bill the time for putting me down because we know he can. Um, Thank you all very much. And for Mark Oldop, Sky Halpern, along with Bill Corpus Crispy Murphy, we wish you a very nice, happy weekend. Enjoy it. The weather's going to be beautiful here in New York. If you're in Alaska, it sucks. What do you want from me? Have
Hey,
a
but it's
great night.
Alaska.
We'll catch you on the flip.
Stay safe and take care.